This is going to be absolute value inequalities. So take a moment to pause the video and write all of this down, and I'll explain what this means. Because this is something that you really need to know, and it can be really complicated. But I'll teach you a couple things that you can try to remember. So, what does this first thing mean? So I'm going to call this case one. Okay. So case one, whenever you have an absolute value less than a number, k, either less than or equal to, the thing that you're going to do is you're going to drop the absolute value and basically copy this down, which is right here without the absolute value. But then you're going to add a negative portion to it, a less than or negative k. Same thing with if it's greater, less than or equal to, you're going to copy it down and then you're going to have a negative. The way that I remember that is that this is less than, so this than reminds me of an and. It's basically an and. Okay, so whenever you have this, you basically are going to crunch it all together. Now, if you have a greater than, what you're going to do is you're going to copy it down, same thing, this is going to be an or statement, and then what you're going to do, you're going to copy it down, but now you're going to flip the sign and make it negative. Same thing if it's a greater than or equal to. The way that I remember this is that greater stands for great or, right? Great or, okay, if that kind of helps. This is going to be case two. I don't know if that helps. That kind of helps me a little bit. If you can think of other ways that you can remember this, just let me know. And that way I can tell the class. Okay, I'm always looking for really good ways to remember these type of things. Okay, so now the question that you're probably asking yourself is, why is it like this? So let's take an example for case one. This is for case one. Let's say we were looking for the absolute value of x is less than 3. Now, why is it that it's going to look like that? Well, let's start by graphing it. Well, here is 3, okay? 3 is not included, and we're looking for all the values of x, or absolute value of x, that are less than 3. So we're looking for the distance that's less than 3. Well, 2 clearly is, if I plug in 2, absolute value of 2 is less than 3. That's correct. So that's a solution. So this is okay. So is 1. So is 0. Negative 1, if I plug in negative 1 here, I'm going to get negative 1 is less than 3. That's still true. Same thing with negative 2. Now with negative 3, when you plug in negative 3, the absolute value of negative 3 is 3. 3 is not less than 3. So that's where it stops. So it's only going to be between 3 and negative 3. That's why we have this thing between the positive 3 and the negative 3. That's where this intuition comes from. Now, what about if you have case 2? Why does case 2 tend to break up into two different types? Let's say we had absolute value of x is greater than 3. Okay, so let me choose a different color. So let's draw this. So here's 3. 3 is not included, and we're looking for the distance of 3 to be greater than 3. So everything that's greater is actually going to be this way. Okay, so it's going to be all of this part. Okay, that's where x is greater than k come from. Okay, so x greater than k is going to be everything over here. Now, why is it the other one? Well, think about a negative 3. Negative 3, the distance of negative 3 to 0 is still 3. And all of these distances, if I plug in negative 4 in here, the absolute value of negative 4 is positive 4, and 4 is greater than 3. So all of these values over here, when I take the absolute value, are also going to be greater than 3. So you actually get a breakup. You get a breakup between x is greater than 3, and also x is less than the negative sign of this 3. Okay, so hopefully that helped you with some intuition. Okay, and if it didn't, then it's okay. No worries. It's just a good way to know where all of this comes from. So let's do some problems. So here's an example. So let's say we want to solve the inequality. Okay, and we want to write it in interval notation. Okay, so here's going to be part A. So let's say we had absolute value of x minus 3. It's less than or equal to 4. Okay, now take a quick pause to figure out which case do you think this is going to be. Is it going to be case 1 or is it going to be case 2? And if you look at it, it's going to be case 1 because it's less than. And because it's less than, it's going to be an and, which means that you're going to have an extra less than there. So the way that you do this, you're going to copy paste this, x minus 3 less than or equal to 4. And then on the other side, you're going to have another less than or equal to, and you're going to have a negative 4. Okay? Now let's solve for x. We're going to add 3 to all sides to solve for the value of x. So x is going to be between negative 1 and 7. This is the solution. Since I wanted an interval notation, we know that this is going to be bracket negative 1 all the way to 7. Okay. After a while, when you've done problems like this, it'll be easy for you to write the interval notation. If you still need to draw the number line, it's still fine. Negative 1 and 7, we want all values of x that are between those. These two are included, so it's going to be everything in between. Okay. So let's try this one. Let's say you wanted to do 2 absolute value or negative 2 absolute value of x minus 4 plus 1 is greater than or equal to, let's say we want to do negative 5. Okay, so if we want to do something like this, the first thing that we want to do is isolate this absolute value. Okay, so to isolate this absolute value, we're still first going to start off with this 1. I'm going to subtract the 1 over. Okay, so now we're going to have negative 2 absolute value of x minus 4, and then greater than or equal to negative 6. Now we're going to divide by this negative 2 because you need to isolate this absolute value. And what you're going to get is absolute value of x minus 4. Since we're dividing by a negative, the sign is going to switch to a less than or equal to. This is going to give me a positive 3. Okay. Now notice that now, in the beginning, we thought it was going to be a greater sign, a greater. But now it's going to be a less than. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to take x minus 4 and copy paste it without the absolute value. And on the other side, what we're going to do, we're going to have another less than or equal to negative 3. Okay, we're going to add a 4 to all the sides. Okay, so we're going to have x is less than or equal to, less than or equal to. Here I'm going to get a 1, here I'm going to get a 7. So this is the answer. So my answer is going to be from 1 all the way to 7. Okay, and that is my solution. Okay, let's try this one. 2 absolute value of negative 3x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 4. Okay, so in this case, we want to still solve for the absolute value. So what we're going to do, we're going to divide by this 2. Divide by 2. This goes away. Now you're going to have negative 3x plus 1 is greater than or equal to positive 2. Okay. All right. So now what are we going to do now? Now this is going to be a greater sign. It's a greater, so it's going to be an or sign. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take negative 3x plus 1. We're going to copy paste it. Same thing. Okay. And now what it says is that whenever it's a greater than sign, what we're going to do is separate them with an or and have the other one be a negative. Okay. So we're going to write negative 3x plus 1 greater than or equal to 2, or negative 3x plus 1 less than or equal to negative 2. Okay, so that's what we have. So notice that this is different. You switch the sign and you make this negative. Okay. All right, so now let's go ahead and solve the problem. Subtract by 1 to both sides. So you're going to get negative 3x is greater than or equal to 1. Divide by a negative 3. Oh, we're dividing by a negative, so that means I'm going to switch the sign. It's going to be negative 1/3. This is the first one. Or it's going to be this one. Subtract by a 1. So you're going to get negative 3x is less than or equal to negative 3. Divide by this negative 3 to both sides. So x is going to be Now I'm going to switch the sign because I'm dividing by a negative, greater than or equal to 1. Okay, so now I have this OR sign. Okay, so remember how we did the ORs? If you forgot, go back to the video. So go back to your notes. So x is less than or equal to negative 1/3. Okay, so let's try to do this. So negative 1/3 is maybe around here. Here's negative 1/3. Negative 1/3 is included, and it's everything that's less than. Everything that's less than is over here. Okay, x is greater than or equal to 1 is going to be here. So 1 is a little bit more than negative 1/3. 1 is included, and it's everything that's greater than. It's going to be everything over here. And remember, with an OR, you want everything together. Okay, so you want to combine both of these together. Okay, so what you're going to get when I combine both of these, you're going to get all of this up to negative 1/3 included. Then nothing. You're going to start at 1 again, include that, and everything afterwards. And what would that be? That would be from negative infinity, because negative infinity is over here, positive infinity is over here, negative infinity to negative 1/3. Negative 1/3 is included. Union 1 is included all the way to infinity. Okay, and that is the answer for that one. So the greater actually takes a little bit more time because you need to do a little bit more. Okay, let's just do one more problem. So where am I? I'm in part D. Okay. Let's say we wanted to do absolute value of x minus 4 is greater than or equal to 3. I don't know. Okay. So now we don't need to isolate anything. All we just got to do is just notice that it's a greater, so it's going to be an OR. So we're going to copy paste it again, x minus 4 greater than or equal to 3, or x minus 4 is going to be less than or equal to negative 3. Okay, so let's solve this problem. Add 4 to both sides. So x is going to be greater than or equal to 7. That's my first solution. Or I'm going to add the 4 to the other side. And then x is going to be less than or equal to 1. Okay. Now what we're going to do, we're going to break it up into 2 to try to figure out where the solution is at. Okay, so 7's around here. 7 is included, and we want everything that's greater than that. So everything greater is over here. X is less than or equal to 1. Well, 1 is a little bit less than 7. 1 is included, and everything that's less than, which is going to be all of this. So when you look at this, you're going to see that it starts at negative infinity to 1, then from 7 to positive infinity. It's going to be negative infinity to 1 included, union 7 all the way to infinity. Remember that infinities do not have a bracket. Okay? All right. So that's basically all there is to absolute value inequalities. There are 2 special cases which I will do in the next video, but that's all there is to it.